Hegel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. I hope everyone is doing fantastic today or had a good week. I hope you all had a nice Easter if you celebrate. Also, hope you didn't get fooled too hard on April's Fool's Day. We'll go over the latest and greatest April Fool's Day pranks in the gaming universe in a little bit. Thank you to anyone and everyone who sent birthday wishes my way. I do appreciate that. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first part of the show, which is, of course, what have I been playing this past week? First up on my list, we gotta round out the Princess Peach Showtime talk here. I beat the game this past week, and I gotta say it was a lot more fun than I was expecting going into it because the demo for the game I think sells the game a little bit short, and I know a lot of people were playing that and streaming it and were saying, kind of like it was kind of like okay, and I was a little bit scared because when people are saying things like that, it's kind of a bad sign. But once you go past those first two demo levels, which are the patisserie chef and the sword fighter, pretty much every other costume except for the detective is more interesting than those two. So I think I talked about this a little bit last week. I don't remember exactly what I talked about, but I will start off by saying I enjoyed the game. I thought it was good. Had some fun with it. Had some fun moments. Had some nice levels in there, but not everything was peachy keen. I gotta say, the Detective Peach levels were quite a snooze fest. Nothing really happening. No real gameplay mechanics other than holding down B to accuse someone or have a intuition strike, and that was, it was just kind of that whole the whole 3 or 4 levels you have to do with the Detective Peach outfit just really wasn't vibing with me, and it was just kind of boring. The rest of them had at least something going on. Like the dashing thief had the grapple hook that she could use. The mermaid can control fish with her voice, and at the end of each level there was a musical section which was fun. The ice skating Peach was actually more entertaining than I was expecting. I was going into it oh, it's ice skating. Oh boy, here we go. But it's actually kind of fun. I actually kind of enjoyed the ice skating levels. The Kung Fu levels were almost like the sword fighter ones, except it had a little bit more action going on. The ninja stuff I thought was pretty fun too. You could hide in the grass and attack enemies from behind and stuff. The Cowgirl Peach was probably my favorite out of all of them. Had the most diverse levels and changing levels. You start off and you are just kind of going around an area using your lasso to take out enemies, and then there's a little bit of a boss fight where you throw barrels. And you try and save the little theets. They're these little big-nosed theets guys. And then there's a chase sequence where you ride your horse and you're chasing down other bandits. And then at the end of it all, there's a little boss fight where you throw barrels again. I just thought it was a lot of fun. The Mighty Peach outfit was also pretty good. It was a sci-fi themed one that, Peach became Superwoman almost, super strength, able to throw things, able to take out enemies, bigger enemies. Those levels are also a lot of fun. There was also some side-scrolling levels in them as well that I thought were pretty fun too. The sword fighter was just kind of basic. I talked about this last week, but the dodging is kind of weird because you either press B or A to dodge, and it's not there's a real I don't know. I just wanted an extra button for and this is your parry button, but they couldn't do that. They just kept it to 2 buttons still, which was just kind of weird. But it worked for what it was, but I didn't super enjoy it. And then the patisserie chef peach. I thought it was okay. I'm not like, I wasn't like, after playing the other levels, I was like, yeah, it's not like the best thing ever. But in the end, I did end up enjoying it. There's some good boss fights in there. The final boss fight was really cool. I liked the ending boss fight, even though the end of the boss fight was pretty much just a floating hands boss. The build up to it was what I really enjoyed. There's like a first section that was a lot more fun than the final section, but it still was fun all around, and had some nice graphics, had some frame rate issues. I already talked about the loading screens having terrible frame rate, but for some reason, sometimes just walking around the theater, your frame rate drops randomly, and I don't understand what that's all about, but hey, whatever. So yeah, just a few small gripes here and there. It's funny. I was talking to someone and they were like, "Oh yeah, Princess Peach. It's kind of like Balan Wonderworld." And I'm like, "No, it's really not. Other than the fact that you dress up as different characters, Balan Wonderworld is like it's a 3D platformer. It's also terrible. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Princess Peach Showtime is definitely good. I think it's definitely worth your time. Maybe wait for a sale on it, because I do think that it was like a 7-hour playthrough. Maybe not even, honestly. Three. Well, yeah, maybe about a 7-hour playthrough. Maybe more like 8 from my streaming numbers, which is a decent time. I just think that because the game is a little bit basic, it's really just 2 buttons in the joystick. I think people are going to want a little bit more out of their games, especially with like Mario having such a diverse moveset, and like Mario Odyssey, of course, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Crazy amount of things you can do in those games. And even though Princess Peach wasn't like $70 or $60, it's still a high price for what you get. And yeah, maybe wait for like a Black Friday sale or a sale later on in the year, if you're interested in it but don't want to like devote the money or resources towards it right now, which is understandable. It's understandable. So my ranking of the different Peach costumes, we're going to start at the bottom, go to the top. Of course, Detective Peach is at the bottom. Right after that is the Patisserie Chef, then the Sword Fighter, then the I actually, after Patisserie is Dashing Thief, and then Sword Fighter, Kung Fu, Mermaid, Ice Skating, Ninja, Mighty Peach, and Cowgirl. I think that's all of them. Yeah, because there should be 10. Yeah, so that's my ranking. Okay, well, let me go over one more time, because I was a little bit... So, Detective, Patisserie, Dashing Thief, Sword Fighter. I'm already losing it. Mermaid, Ice Skating. No, wait, no. Mermaid, Kung Fu, Ice Skating, Ninja, Power Peach, Mighty Peach, and Cowgirl. That was 11. Was it 11? 3. So 6 plus 4 is... I don't know what's going on with my brain. You know what? Never mind. That's the ranking, and I don't care if it's right or wrong. I don't care. Live with it. All right, let's move on to the next game. Banishers, or Banisters, as Lucy in the Discord likes to call it. Ghosts of New Eden. This was actually a gift from Lucy, so I shouldn't be making fun of her. But Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. This is a game that I really was excited for, but I decided not to get right away because there were so many other things coming out around the same time. And it's funny because I believe Banishers delayed themselves another like month or so to get out of like the heavy scene of like October, November from last year. and they just kind of put themselves back into like the middle, the thick of it, with a bunch of games coming out like Final Fantasy, Rise of Ronin, Princess Peach. All these games came out around the same time as Banishers as well. So they put themselves out of a situation and into pretty much the same exact situation. But it is funny because I think that Banishers compared to probably the other games that I've talked about recently, like Rise of Ronin and Princess Peach Showtime, and insert another game here. Banishers probably is the best of the games that I've played so far. Maybe even better than Helldivers 2, honestly. Because I still do have my gripes with that game, Helldivers 2, but yeah, it's fun. It's fine. But Banishers is a game that I kind of wish that I had played earlier, because there's a couple of other games that I've played that are like good, but like they're not wowing me. When I play Princess Peach Showtime, it's good, but I'm not like on the edge of my seat, playing it. Helldivers, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat just because it can get so difficult at times. And then Rise of Ronin, it's like, yeah, it's a great game. I really like it, but there's technical issues, and there's just like repetitive gameplay, like level structure to the game as well, which I'm not super loving right now. I've been exploring the second area that you can go to. I don't know how far through that game it is, but I am starting to feel burnout on the game because it's a lot of repetitive tasks, and the story is good, but it's not like amazing right now, right? Swing around to Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. This is like a really tightly done narrative. It starts off where you're playing as Antea, exploring this like small village that is in the center of New Eden, which is like the area of the game that you're exploring. And they have a ghost problem. They have a ghost that they need banished. And everyone in the town is kind of disheveled, and they haven't slept because there's nightmares and blah 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 blah. Fast forward, Antea, of course, if you don't know the basics of Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, Antea is struck down by the nightmare. It's much more powerful than both of our Banisher main characters expected. And then Red, the lover, I guess, the boyfriend and partner of Antea, is thrown out a window, but saved before he drowns by a witch. And that's kind of how the story begins, like really begins. Like that's where it takes off. The first part of the game is really just the tutorial. You're learning the basics of the fighting, and the story is just kind of like warming up. You're interacting with these people who you'll probably meet throughout your adventure, and then you set out one night to try and defeat the nightmare, and of course things go wrong, and Antea's dead, and she comes back as a ghost. So one of the first things that you do is you decide, how do we want to go about this? Should you ascend, or should we try to revive you? And it kind of has almost the same system as like a BioShock, where you deal with a ghost's issues, and then you choose like, okay, so should we let them go to the afterlife peacefully? Should we banish them by forcing them to go to the afterlife? Or should we blame the person who got them killed, or is the reason that they're being haunted? Should we blame them and use their life essence to try and bring back Antea? So no matter what you do, kind of determines where the story goes. I think it's ripe for another playthrough to see what happens on the other end of the story. I don't think it's going to change the main narrative too much until like the very end, of course. But for the most part, I have been ascending ghosts. Except for one in particular. There was one ghost that I felt like, yeah, you need to be banished, and it was the one that I don't know if you want spoilers or not, but there was one that was haunting a blacksmith, and I was like, okay, this guy's a real piece of work. He doesn't deserve to go peacefully, But that's the thing, like, Don't Nod is the developer behind the game, and Don't Nod made one of my least favorite games ever in Vampire, and that might be like a bit of a shock to people, but yeah, Vampire was one of my first games that I streamed um, on Twitch and did like a whole playthrough, and I just was really not satisfied with it. And the main reason is because the progression was just so limiting at times. And it's funny because you go through Vampire, and well, maybe it's not funny. It's kind of annoying because you go through Vampire, and like towards the end of the game, you're fighting more powerful enemies, and it's like if you're being a nice vampire, you're not killing people. You're not taking. You can't really level up as much as you would if you were just playing the game evil. So I just was like, all right, fuck it. You want me to play evil? I'll play evil, and it made the game 100% easier, and I was able to get through the game. The opposite of Banishers, though, is the main story moments where you are deciding the fate of a ghost. That doesn't grant you more XP if you do one way or the other. It just affects the story in terms of, like, does Antea ascend or does she get revived or how does she ascend, right? Which is fantastic. I cannot tell you how happy I was that the XP was the same between all three of the choices, and it didn't matter which one you did in terms of upgrading yourself and getting better. The other thing that they brought over from Vampire that was improved was the character interactions. The dialogue with the characters is much more interesting, in my opinion. And I think that even though not every interaction is memorable, I do find myself, because I'm still playing through it. I'm about 10 hours in now. I find myself wanting to hear more dialogue. I find myself wanting to listen to the conversation because it's at least interesting, which is great. In Vampire, I felt like the game was dragging on at times with the conversations and dialogues, and Banishers does a better job with that in general. And there's a lot of great characters that you meet along the way as well. I don't want to give it too much away, but there's two sisters that you find who are both hiding something, and it's causing a manifestation in the forest that you have to investigate. And it's just one of those great storylines from the game. Right now, I'm in like a snowy area, and the story going on is just super interesting. Even like the smaller side plots of like just helping people with their ghosts has been great. There was one where the ghost was like mute because the person he was haunting was so stricken with guilt that it caused the ghost not to be able to speak, and apparently he'd been dealing with this ghost for like 10 years or something like that, and you get to help him get over that. It's just there's some really really nice side stories and some really nice main stories as well, which is great. The side content doesn't feel like you're just kind of like checking boxes off a list, doing this because I want the XP. It actually feels like you're doing something, making a bit of a difference in this New Eden area. And the story is kind of set up like God of War from 2018, where the goal of God of War 2018 was to climb the mountain and get to the top, right? And in Banishers, the goal of the game is essentially to get back to that village that you started out in and reclaim Antea's body so you can decide what to do with her ghost. And so the journey is a long journey through the woods, through a marsh, through snowy mountains, across a they called it like a plain of death or something like that, a forest of death, whatever they wanted to call it. And then you finally get back to that main village, I'm guessing. But throughout most of the adventure, you can kind of see the church that the events took place in, kind of ominously in the distance for for some moments where you're high up, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. And the game does play a little bit like God of War from 2018. Not so much in like the combat, but in like how the main world works. You're kind of like adventuring around these kind of linear areas, but they have a lot that you can do in them. There's some side tasks and other things you can discover. But mostly there's like a single path for you to follow through a good amount of the area, which is kind of like how God of War 2018 was. And then there's like random encounters that you fight the like spirits, the ghosts, the whatever you want to call them. And the difference here lies that because you have both Red and Antea, you can switch between them to fight different forms of enemies. And maybe there isn't enough enemy variety in the game right now. I mean, I've gotten through 10 hours of the game, and I've really only seen like one new spirit since like the 4-hour mark. But the way that you fight them is really fun. As Red, you can fight spirits and banish them. And as Antea, when a spirit takes a hold of a form like a bone walker or a dead carcass, she can beat them out of the vessel and then have Red finish them off. And as you go through the game, Antea gets more abilities, like a blast ability where she does like an area of effect attack, a dash ability which does massive damage, and then of course I think there'll be more as we go on. I haven't discovered any more yet so far. And then Red also gets new things as well. Like one of the first things you get, it's funny. One of the first things you get is a rope for creating shortcuts, and I thought that was just kind of funny. You're like, oh, here's a rope. I was like, oh boy, but it actually is pretty useful. And then later on you get the gun, the musket, which is really effective at long range, of course, and there's plenty of different skills you can unlock for both the characters. The interesting thing is that you have to decide between two on each tree. So if you want to activate one, the other one won't be able to be activated, which I thought was a pretty good idea. It kind of makes you strategize a little bit more, think a little bit harder. Also, the amount of armor and weapons and other things to equip is limited, which I actually appreciate coming from Rise of Ronin and going into this game. There's like so far I've found two different armor for Red, a couple different rings, a couple different like amulets, and then like 3 weapons and one. I haven't found another musket yet throughout my time playing. So it's nice to not have to constantly be reminded like, oh, I might have something better, or oh, I can do this. The only time that I get that is like when I have multiple things to upgrade, which is like whatever. It's just upgrading things. So that is much appreciated. It is much appreciated. It's much less jumbled. The UI is much more tight knit. And the map is also very nice too. It doesn't exactly show you everything on the map, but when you discover something that you can't get through yet or whatever, it automatically marks it for you, so you don't have to remember yourself or take a picture, I guess, or screenshot. And then it also, it'll mark things that you've already found. If there's a question mark, you have to kind of go towards it to find it, but whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of great moments in the game. A lot of I think the graphics look great. I mean, they're not amazing, but they're pretty good for like a AA developer. Like I think that they look pretty good. Characters look great. The areas you walk through look really nice. The combat's flashy. It's not trying to be God of War. It's just kind of being its own thing, which is great. Dialogue is nice. So all in all, I'm really, really enjoying my time with it. If you do enjoy that God of War 2018 or maybe even Ragnarok type style game in general, where you're crouching and going through corners and climbing things it's also a nice game where it's kind of like God of War and other games where there's really no loading screens unless you are loading in from the main menu, which is also really cool. It makes it all flowing, really nice and flowing, the whole adventure. And the loading takes place in those moments where you're you're sliding through a crevice or you're climbing something, the loading takes place there, and it's really nice. It feels great. I will be honest. It does feel really nice to just kind of play through the game in one. It's almost like you're playing through it in one sitting in a way. But yeah, of course, I take my breaks and stuff like that. So, yeah, it feels great. I love it when games do that, especially narrative strong games where you're just kind of like following the journey of these two characters, and the story is not being held up by having to load an area or whatever. So it is nice in that way, very nice in that way. So I'm excited to play more. It's definitely worth your time. I think it's definitely worth the price tag. I think it's like $50, which is great. I was waiting for a sale, and I never pulled the trigger on it because there were so many other things coming out. But thank you again to Demonic Lucy in the Discord, aka Coco, for gifting me the game for my birthday. It has definitely been a great time. I definitely have been enjoying it, and I am excited to try and get it finished by the time that I talk next week to you guys. Finally, for the games that I've been playing this past week, Buckshot Roulette, which is it's an interesting one. It's like $3 on the store, and I believe it was developed by one person. It's heavily inspired by the opening sequence of Inscription, where you have like a shadowy figure who is kind of creepy, and you're playing a game with them. And essentially what the game is, instead of it being Russian roulette with a revolver, it is buckshot roulette with a shotgun. So essentially the figure loads the shotgun shells in a random order. Some of them are blanks and some of them are live. And it's a 50-50 chance where you can either choose to aim the shotgun at yourself and pull the trigger, or you can aim the shotgun at the entity, at the guy, and pull the trigger. So if you aim it at yourself and it fires, of course you lose a life. It's kind of random how many lives you have, but for the most part it's usually like 3 or 4. So the funny thing is you shoot yourself in the head and then they revive you with like defibrillators for your next move. It's just kind of funny. So if that happens, then the shotgun gets swapped over to the other guy. If you aim the shotgun at yourself and it clicks and it's a blank, then you get to do another turn right after. If you aim the shotgun at the other guy and shoot, then the shotgun gets traded over to him. So either way, if you aim it at him, the shotgun gets turned. But if it's a dud, then of course he doesn't lose a life. Kind of like Inscription as well. Each round you get some items to use. In Inscription, it was a couple things like you could pull out your tooth, or you could poke out your eyeball, or whatever. In Buckshot Roulette, there's a lot more that you can work with. So there is a carton of cigarettes where it'll give you back 1 life. There is a device that changes the polarity of the shell, so it turns it from like a blank to a live round, or vice versa. There's an adrenaline shot, which allows you to take one of the opponent's items and then use it right then and there. There's a beer can, which allows you to click clack, click clack the shotgun and empty the current cartridge in it. There is a pill case that either gives you back 2 lives or makes you lose 1, so it's a bit of a chance thing. There's a magnifying glass that lets you see what shot is in the gun currently, which is pretty OP, but whatever. The opponent can use these things too if they want. There's also a cell phone which tells you in the future what shot the 4th shot will be, or something like that. It's pretty cool. I really like that a lot. So the game is, graphically it's really nice. It's got like this very thick, like atmospheric style to it. You're in like a club, and it's like it's like a back room in the rafters of the club, and as you're playing the Buckshot Roulette game, you can hear like the thumping of the EDM music and stuff like that, which is really cool. Once you beat the game once, you get the double or nothing mode, which is pretty much the endless mode if you want to do the endless mode. Essentially, it's just like doing 3-round games over and over and over again until eventually either you lose or you say that I'm out. So it's a really cool game. I think it's definitely like for $3, you can't go wrong. Also, like, they're going to be adding in like a multiplayer mode in the near future, which is going to be quite honestly better than going against the AI. But I mean, the AI is competent. It's not like he's stupid or anything like that. But you know, if you're playing against someone else who's like a human, then like the strategy changes almost completely. So it's it'll be very interesting to eventually play against people online. There is a leaderboard right now, so it's not like you know, it's not like you can't see how other people are doing, but you know, it's one of those things. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked it out, I would at least check it out. It's like a 4 out of 5. I was thinking of giving it like a 4.5, but there's not enough to do in the game, honestly. It's really just like I'd play it through a couple times and then maybe I'll come back for the multiplayer. I don't really feel the need to go back to it right now and keep playing. Unlike like Balacha or something like that, where I want to go back and keep playing more and more. Buckshot Roulette is kind of like, you know, I've seen the game, what it has to offer. I've done the double or nothing mode a couple times, and yeah, it's good. But I don't know if it has longevity until that multiplayer mode comes around. So check that out if you want to. Like I said, it's only like $3. Like, slap down a $5 and just take, you know, and pick it up. I think it's just it's a great game for even like 30 minutes of playtime, you know. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. All right, April Fool's Day was around this past week, and let's go over some of the gags from this past year's April Fools. First up, there was a fake Nintendo Direct uploaded that I don't think it would have fooled anyone because it was a lot of like corrupted footage and like old games. Like, they showed like some clips of what even was it? Super Mario Odyssey, yeah, for some reason. And then they also like showed off like there was a picture of like the Donkey Kong show it mixed in the middle in one of the corrupt states, and I'm like, yeah, this is fake, y'all. I don't know. I don't think anyone really got fooled by it, but it's kind of funny to see. There's some things that, you know, maybe could fool someone, like the Wind Waker HD. Maybe would have fooled people because, you know, it's like a, I don't even know what to say. It's like a really corrupted state, so it's like, oh, maybe it is the HD. I don't know. So that was fake. I believe that was from NintendoLife.com. They did like a fake mashup there. On the Sega front side of things, there was a mascot for the Sonic the Hedgehog game from 2006, and it was like the guy was called like Sonic Man or something like that, Sonic Superfan, and essentially he. In this April Fool's post, it was announced that he was the new Sonic ambassador. He gave a full interview and did like a bunch of Twitter posts. It's just kind of a funny kind of time, a callback to something from a game that isn't like super loved, but there's some people out there who stand by it. On the Nintendo side of things, there was a game called 1-2 Switch Flash Mob Frenzy that was supposedly announced for the holiday season 2024. As you all know, 1-2 Switch, whatever the second one was called, both of the games kind of flopped in general. I mean, the 1-2 Switch originally didn't flop because, you know, it was one of the first games on the Switch, but the second game definitely did flop. Everybody 1-2 Switch. So when this came out, people were like, oh boy, no one wants this. What the hell? And apparently there was like... there was applications inside of like the Disney park. I'm sorry, not Disney, Nintendo park. But of course, it ended up being a April Fool's joke. Yacht Club Games announced that they were putting out a Shovel Knight themed skincare brand. The secret ingredient was dirt, and there was also like skincare consultations you could book at their studio for you know, dermatologist needs, I guess. But it was kind of a little video. It also was a pretty, like, I mean, you know, it wasn't like super well done video, but it was just kind of funny. It was kind of, there was like a Shovel Knight helmet on this like doctor, but it wasn't like anything too crazy. It was just photoshopped on his head. You know, it's just a funny thing. It's just a funny thing. Mint Rocket, who was the developer behind Dave the Diver, announced that there was going to be a spin-off project called Doki Doki Leah's VR, which would be a dating sim starring Duff's Dream Beau. It was set to come soon to Virtual Quest and Vacation VR. Essentially, it was a VR dating sim where you could interact with like a anime girl, and I don't know how it was connected to Dave the Diver to be honest. I mean, I think maybe this Leah character was in Dave the Diver. I didn't meet her yet though. But yeah, there you go. That would have been interesting, I suppose. Probably my favorite thing of April 1st was the Pokemon Sleep World Champions Tournament. Pokemon went all out for this. They built a set, they had announcers, etc., and essentially they had like 10 contestants or whatever who were the best at Pokemon Sleep. They had the best sleeps recorded, and essentially they put them into bedrooms and had them go to sleep, and whoever had the best sleep won. It was just a really fun event. I enjoyed that a lot. I thought it was a really fun time there. Power Wash Simulator put out some reversed footage of people cleaning and said, hey, this is the new dirt mode, which, kind of low effort, but also kind of funny. I don't know if that would be fun to do or not, but yeah, kind of interesting. Retro Blast US tweeted out the official reveal for the Sega Dreamcast Mini. It would have came with a couple of games, like Sonic Adventure, Space Channel 5, Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Daytona US 2001, Jet Set Radio, and Shenmue. Of course, this was a April Fool's joke, but yeah, kind of a funny one, I guess. A major industry insider tweeted out that Elon Musk was ready to buy Rockstar Games, and quoted as saying, as part of the new plan to turn X into everything in the Everything app, acquiring Rockstar Games is the perfect opportunity to tap into the mobile market. And he said that Elon Musk said that to him directly, but of course it was a farce. It was April 1st. Guilty Gear Strive, or whatever you want to say, put out a tweet saying that there was going to be a comic series but you have to wait 150 years to get the finished product. And then they also reveal that you can sample the smell of the game Perfume, which would have been put out alongside it. Kind of funny. And then finally, probably the biggest April Fool's joke was IGN's Virtual Boy Pro video, where they did a whole ad for this Virtual Boy attachment for your Switch, and games like Link's Korok Catcher, Super Mario Home Run, and Animal Crossing Moving Day were all in the video. And they looked okay. There was also Luigi's Mansion 4, which, I don't know, there really wasn't anything there for that. They also had a little, like, Mario Kart open road thing where you put on the Virtual Boy and it turns your car into a Mario Kart racer. Kind of funny. They said it was going to come fall 2024, but at the end they were like, hey, this is a parody, not a real product. But it's kind of funny. I thought it was kind of a funny video. Personally, I mean, I wouldn't mind Virtual Boy games coming to the Switch in some way. I know that it might be a little bit more difficult to do for the developers, but like having that Wario Land game on the Switch that was from the Virtual Boy era, kind of would be cool. That's a game that I've always wanted to try out because a lot of people say that's like a sleeper hit, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, happy April Fools, everyone. There you go. Also, in terms of like weird stories, the BAFTAs put out an iconic games character poll, and apparently people voted on this or something. I don't know how many people voted on it, but let's go through the top 20 as voted by, I guess, whoever voted in this, the top 20 characters ever. And I don't know, I think that it was just like you wrote in who you thought, the different placement of the characters. There was over 4,000 people who voted on this. So at number 20, it was Nathan Drake. 19 was Ellie from The Last of Us. 18 was Kazuma from the Like a Dragon and Yakuza series. 17 was Asterion from Baldur's Gate 3. Number 16 was Cloud from Final Fantasy. 15, Crash Bandicoot. 14, Solid Snake. 13, Steve from Minecraft. 12, Pikachu. 11, Arthur Morgan. 10, Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3. 9, Kratos. 8, Master Chief. 7, Link. 6, Pac-Man. 5, Sackboy. 4, Sonic. 3, Agent 47. What the fuck? Number 2 was Mario, and number 1 was Lara Croft. This list is just so fucking... It's just kind of fucked up in a lot of ways. I don't know if people were just trolling with their picks or whatever, but having Agent 47 at number 3 is wild. Having Sackboy anywhere in the top 10 is insane. Having these two Baldur's Gate 3 characters is also kind of crazy. And having Lara Croft at the top is also just kind of crazy. I mean, I think anyone who knows video games would probably put Mario at number 1. Even if you don't like Nintendo, everyone's heard of Mario, you know? And Sonic, like, I feel like Mario should be number 1, 2 should be like Sonic, 3 should be Pac-Man, 4 should be Link, 5 should be Kratos, you know, like there's and maybe 6 or 7 is Lara Croft after Master Chief or something like that. You know, I just feel like, or Pikachu is higher or something like that, or Steve at this point. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy, just a crazy list. I don't know what the heck people were on, but Lara Croft being number 1, pretty crazy. Apparently, she's the most iconic video game character of all time, according to the BAFTAs now. So there you go. Also, like, hit Agent 47. I haven't thought of that bald man since Hitman 3. All right, let's move on. The next Ubisoft Forward is coming. And it's coming during the Summer Games Fest, as you may or may not have guessed. So on June 10th at the Los Angeles, studio or whatever, the Ubisoft Forward will be releasing, and they'll be talking about games like Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Red, updates for games like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown and Skull and Bones, along with the possibility, this is now speculation, of Splinter Cell Remake and Beyond Good and Evil 2 finally being resurfacing. So we don't know exactly what is going to be shown off, but we do know that the Forward is going to be on June 10th during the Summer Games Fest, so we'll see what they have to show then. It's going to be interesting no matter what, because the Star Wars game and this Assassin's Creed Red game, and maybe they'll show off that Assassin's Creed Jade game as well. Speaking of Star Wars Outlaws, though, on Tuesday this coming week, on the 9th of April, they are going to be showing off footage and the story premise for Star Wars Outlaws. This will start around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to check that out, it'll probably be on like the Star Wars Outlaws YouTube or even the Ubisoft channel. I think this is a good idea because it is on the Ubisoft channel. I apologize. I think it's a good idea because the story is kind of one of the most important things for a Star Wars game, you know. So putting out information about the story of it is going to be very interesting for a lot of people. They also showed they have this new artwork in the thumbnail, which looks pretty good too. Like Jabba's there, as we already knew that he was going to be in the game, but it looks like there's a couple of characters that we weren't introduced to yet. There's also a random stormtrooper in here as well. I don't know. We'll see what that's all about. Speaking of Star Wars, though, once again, Saber Interactive insists that the Knights of the Old Republic remake is still alive and well. Now, a few months ago, they said, hey, it's still coming. It's not dead. It's still coming. I think that was a month ago at this point. And now the CEO of Saber Interactive says, yes, it's still coming, folks. Don't worry. It's still coming. After all that happened with Embracer Group and stuff like that, Saber Interactive's CEO, Matthew Karch, acknowledged the project and said that it's clear and obvious that we are working on this. It's been in the press numerous times. What I will say is that the game is alive and well, and we're dedicated to making sure we exceed customer expectations. So, Yeah, we'll see what happens. This is another thing that might have been revealed too early in its development, or maybe before its development even began. And yeah, it's just a subject of those kind of things. Metroid Prime 4 was revealed too early, Skull and Bones, Beyond Good and Evil, and now Knights of the Old Republic remake, just revealed too early. And yeah, sure, it generates hype, but then also like during the entire lifespan of the development cycle, it has eyes on it going, hey, where'd this go? Hey, what's this? What's this? Speaking of games that might have been revealed too early, Hollow Knight Silk Song. There's been an update in the ever-growing mystery of this game. There's an Xbox store page that went live recently. Essentially, last week on the Xbox storefront, Hollow Knight Silk Song got a entry. You can now wishlist the game. Possibly they'll be showing off Hollow Knight Silk Song at the next Xbox showcase, partner showcase, or maybe during the Summer Games Fest. It's hard to say. It's been rated with an E10 ESRB rating for fantasy violence and mild blood, which suggests that it could be released soon, because that is one of the last things that a game needs to do before it's released. To follow up, Hollow Knight Silk Song was also rated in Korea on the 20th of February, and now the store page has shown up on April 1st, so that's also, things being rated in other countries is also a good sign as well. But once again, we will have to wait and see what actually comes of this. I mean, it is a full-fledged page, I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay, there's no screenshots, but they have the minor Actually, yes, there are screenshots. Holy shit, it just took a second for the load. I don't know why it took a second to load. Did they just add this? No, I don't think they just added this. So yeah, you can wishlist it. You can see there's a gameplay trailer that was released during an Xbox Direct, I'm pretty sure. And there's some screenshots, and then in the description, it just reads, "Ascend to the peaks of a vast haunted kingdom in Hollow Knight Silk Song, the sequel to the award-winning action-adventure Hollow Knight. Explore, fight, and survive as Hornet, Princess Protector of Hollow Nest, as she discovers a land ruled by Silk and Song." So it's going to be available on Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. I can also assume that's going to be on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. But we'll wait and see. So interesting development there. We'll see how that goes. On April 1st, weirdly enough, the developers behind Bugsnax and the creators at Young Horses, who was a card game creator, announced that the Bugsnax card game Kickstarter was available to fund. It's funny that it was on April 1st, because you kind of think like, oh, it's got to be an April Fool's joke, right? But then you go to the actual Kickstarter page and you watch the video, and yeah, it's a real thing. It is absolutely a real thing. So if you want to, you can fund it on Kickstarter. Right now, I believe it's surpassed its goal by a lot. So I don't know if they actually need more money, but if you want to pre-order the game, you can also pre-order the game on Kickstarter to guarantee that you're getting a copy of this little card game. So essentially, they needed $15,000 of funding on Kickstarter, and right now they're at $43,000. So they're definitely ahead of the game there. So I guess there's different characters with decks, and so there's like a Chanlo deck, a Snorpy deck, a Shelda deck, and a Filbo deck. And there's also a trap deck and a snacks deck. So essentially there are 28 trap cards, 22 snack cards, and then 32 cards in each of the decks that I mentioned before. There's also advanced decks, which I guess are maybe a little bit smaller, for all the other characters pretty much in the game as well. Essentially, the game comes with the instruction manual, of course, that tell you how to play the game. I feel like it's kind of like Pokemon in a way, where you essentially take a deck and a bug snack appears and you try and catch it first, I guess, and then you maybe battle with the snacks that you acquire. Very interesting. I'll have to read into this a little bit more, but pretty cool. Apparently, you also eat bug snacks to do something. Yeah, I think that it's going to be a pretty fun card game, honestly. They're expecting to ship the game by October 2024. So if you want to check that out, like I said, Bug Snacks, the card game, is on Kickstarter, and it's ready to be funded. Elder Scrolls Online 10th Anniversary Roadmap has been announced. Let's look at this. Usually I go over roadmaps when they come out because they're the easiest content to talk about because there's really nothing to talk about. But this is the 10th anniversary of the game, and I guess they're planning on continuing the support for it. There will be a celebration kickoff event in April where there will be a free event in the game, a Thieves Guild spotlight, and some free content, along with a partner celebration with Alienware, NVIDIA, GeForce, and Xbox. In May, Housing Spotlight, Partner Celebrations. In June, Gold Road is a new chapter launch. There will be a new in-person event in Sweden, along with a 10-year anniversary in-game achievement. There will also be a web experience and also another partner showcase. In July through December, at Gamescom, there will be an in-person event in Germany, Japan, China, and Australia. There will be an update for the housing system and the PvP system in the game. And then 2025 and beyond, there will be an in-person event in North America with some more game updates, 45 through 48. So there you go. Like I said, it's easy to talk about these roadmaps because there's really nothing to talk about in terms of, especially this one. Like there's one expansion coming out in 2024, which is like fine. It's a 10-year-old game, but also like, why do we even need a roadmap at that point? All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is what's coming soon. Okay, Hellblade 2 has had its previews go out to publications and stuff like that. It's right around the corner. This comes out in May 21st, if you don't remember. The previews for the game are pretty positive, but the people are mentioning that the game is locked at 30 FPS on Xbox Series X and S. And then the developer also said, yes, it's going to be locked at 30 FPS at launch. There will be a higher frame rate on the PC version of the game. This information comes from the GamePro preview. They said in a quote, "The beauty also comes at a price. Hellblade 2 only runs at 30 FPS and dynamic resolution on both Xbox Series S and X. There are no graphics modes. Only on the PC frame rate can be increased. Since the gameplay is generally rather slow and weighty, the smooth 30 FPS didn't bother me," says another person. At least not in the playback session. And that was from the VFX director of the game. So, I'm not a big stickler for frame rate. Like 30 is obviously, it's noticeable when it's not 60, obviously. But I'm not like a huge stickler for that kind of thing. If the game looks good, it runs well, it doesn't stutter, you don't have frame rate drops, which are very noticeable, then I'm fine with it being locked to 30 FPS for the most part. A game like this that has such detail in the graphics and presentation and stuff like that, it's kind of understandable that's going to be locked at a lower frame rate until they can get it running properly on like the Xbox or whatever. Just goes to show, though, how behind both the PS5 and the Xbox are in terms of like performance and stuff like that at this point. And it's only been about 5 years since both the consoles launched. So once again, as I mentioned like last week, the gaming landscape is changing much faster than these consoles can handle. And even though a lot of games coming to the consoles still look good, Starfield looks good in general. God of War Ragnarok looked great on PlayStation. When you compare things to the PC, it's almost like comparing apples. It is comparing apples to oranges, honestly. So it's difficult in that area, and the fact that a lot of modern consoles can't do the highest resolution with the highest frame rate it's a bit concerning, but it also tells you, like, yeah, I'm guessing the next iteration of both the Xbox and the PlayStation will be coming within the next couple years here, maybe even a year. Saying, the Switch 2 is coming around apparently, but we'll see. So there you go. Once again, I'm not concerned about 30 FPS on Hellblade 2, but it might be noticeable. Stellar Blade is coming soon on the 26th of April. The developers came out in an interview and said that there will be free skins and New Game Plus for the game coming out after launch. They also said that there will be no microtransactions to the game in the future or in the present. In the quote by Kim Hyung-tae, the CEO of Shift Up, the development studio, he said, "We would like to make it clear that Stellar Blade does not require any additional expenses that gamers are not aware of other than the cost of purchasing the package." He explains that the only exception to this would be if the developer collaborates with another studio for a costume, which could be sold for a fee. So if, like, they team up with God of War and there's, like, a Kratos-themed skin, or, if there's, like, a Resident Evil themed skin, I don't know, then there would be a microtransaction. But for the most part, I guess for the full part, there are no microtransactions in Stellar Blade that we know of at this point, which is good. I saw an interview with I think it was with like a indie developer at IGN, and it was CD Projekt Red, not an indie indie developer, a CD Projekt Red, and they said that microtransactions have no place in a single player experience, and I totally agree. Like, Dragon's Dogma 2 kind of dropped the ball where they're giving off these, like, microtransaction things. It's like, why? Like, it's a single player game. Everything should be all the content should be in the game that you can possibly need, and then, like, DLC afterwards for expansions and stuff like that. I just feel like microtransactions in a single player game is a bit shady in any way that you look at it. So, whatever. All right, here's something that I was never expecting in a million years. Recently, Resistance Retribution for the PSP released on the PlayStation Plus Classics catalog, and apparently they're adding a new mode to the game and more in an upcoming update to the game. A new patch is set to arrive sometime this coming week, which will have an infected mode, which is a special feature the original game was missing in the recent re-release. This mode allows you to play as an alternate version of the campaign in which James Grayson becomes infected, has regenerating health, and can breathe underwater. There's new intel to find and some cutscenes and dialogue changes as well. Also, they will fix some bugged trophies for the game, along with a few brand new trophies related to the infected mode, which will be added. So it's pretty cool that they decided to update this game and fill in some more content there. Pretty crazy, seeing as, you don't really expect it for these PlayStation Classic games, but they're going the extra mile at Ben's studio here, so that's nice. All right, here's some details about Sea of Thieves, which is coming to PlayStation and Switch on the 30th of April. The Pirate Simulator is going to run at 60 FPS 4K on the PlayStation 5 if you turn on the performance mode. The developer at Rare said that there will be 230-something trophies for the game, which is pretty crazy. Players will also be spoiled with unique cosmetics for the PlayStation and Switch. Haptic feedback on the PlayStation will allow for greater immersion, and the DualSense adaptive triggers will be getting some use here as well. The Xbox and Steam achievements will seamlessly convert into trophies on the PS5, which means that if you link your game to your Xbox or Steam account, then boom, bada bing, you won't have to re-earn anything you already did. They also noted that in-game progressive achievements may be lost and have to be redone on the PS5, which, it kind of makes sense. PlayStation-only servers will be available as well. You can deactivate crossplay if you so desire. And you can also, crossplay will also be limited to controller only if you have a gamepad. If you turn off your crossplay and have a gamepad or whatever. So there you go. It's also going to allow progress and item transfers as well. Pretty cool stuff. So there you go. All right. It was called the Bloodborne Cart, and then Sony stepped in and was like, hey, you got to change some stuff in here. We're not shutting you down, but we got to change some stuff. So the creator behind the game, Lilith Walter, who I've praised before in the past for her Bloodborne demake, had to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit on some of the character designs and elements in the game. And now it's been rebranded as Nightmare Cart, and it will be out for free instead of paid on Steam. I'm sorry, on itch.io and Steam on PC in May. On the 31st of May, you'll be able to play Nightmare Cart. So it still has the general vibe of that Bloodborne demake, except that instead of having characters from Bloodborne like Maria of the Clock Tower or whatever, they've been changed. They've been renamed. You can support the development of the game and the future endeavors of the small creator at patreon.com/lwmedia. And so about 20 characters have been changed, which is pretty much every character in the game. There will be 16 courses in it, and now everything is legally distinct, as she says on Twitter or whatever. So, yeah, once again, I talked about this before because websites like IGN and even Push Square picked up the story, interviewed the creator, put out the information on the internet, and then Sony saw that and said, oh, maybe we talk to them about this. And, it was amicably solved, but the point remains that these mods and these fan games, they get some publicity, and then the major studio goes, actually, and then there's trouble. So for future reference to anyone listening from any of these websites that I frequent, stop putting them on the freaking home. Stop doing this. If you want to mention them, have them be mentioned in a separate article or something that's a little bit lower key, because as soon as Nintendo, PlayStation, etc. gets wind that their IP is being used, there's going to be some sort of legal ramifications, especially from Nintendo. Sony was at least nice and said, hey, you can still make the game, you just got to rebrand it, All right, Tales of Kenzaru Zao is going to be a day one PlayStation Plus extra game on the 23rd of April. This is a not a roguelite, a Metroidvania that I have been kind of interested in. I think the presentation of the game is really well done. I think it looks a bit better than the Prince of Persia game that recently came out. It kind of has the same style too, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, this will come out on the 23rd of April for both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation Plus Extra members. Players will take control of Zhao, a young warrior shaman from Amandala, who seeks out Kalunga, the god of death, to bargain with him to bring his Baba back from the realm of the dead. And like I said before, the game graphically looks amazing. I think the combat looks pretty slick. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available on the 23rd of April on the PlayStation Plus Extra, or just to buy separately. Also, Dave the Diver is also going to launch on the PlayStation Plus Extra tier for members on the 16th of April. So a few days before Zao comes out, you can actually play Dave the Diver at no extra cost if you own the PlayStation Plus Extra tier. Current members of Sony's subscription service will be able to download and play the game without charge, granting them access to the original experience, but there is some DLC you would have to buy on the side, like the Godzilla-themed DLC coming out soon. Yeah, I've talked about Dave the Diver a bit in the past, so I don't need to reiterate anything. It's a great game. I love the presentation and the management aspects. Wasn't super happy with the fishing aspect, but it's still a pretty good game. Front Mission 2 Remake is coming out later this month on the 30th of April, the end of the month, really. The first game came out, I believe, last year, Front Mission 1 Remake. But now the Front Mission 2 Remake is finally arriving for pretty much every system on the 30th of April. That includes Epic Game Store, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox. Front Mission 2 Remake preserves the mature story, strategic turn-based action, and Wanzer customization options from the original. Enjoy the revisited classic with updated visuals and new features and enhancements. Upgrades include faster load times, a new free camera option, reworked soundtrack, more language options, and extra customization settings as well. Forever Entertainment released both of these games, and the first one had pretty good reviews. Um, I guess, yeah. I think the first one got pretty good reviews, and they've already announced that there's a remake of Front Mission 3 also in the works as well. So if you want to check this out, it's going to be available soon, April 30th. You want to check out the trailer for it? It's on Forever Entertainment's YouTube channel. A game called Internal Strands has been revealed. This is a Shadow of the Colossus-like game where you fight giants from time to time, but there's also smaller enemies to face as well. So it's not completely Shadow of the Colossus, but it seems to be kind of inspired by it a little bit as well. It looks like it's more action-packed with your character being able to jump up and stab them and stuff like that, but yeah, it kind of takes that idea of Shadow of the Colossus and turns it into, well, what if the main character of Shadow of the Colossus was a badass warrior, essentially? It kind of reminds me of that Extinction game, I think it was. The game where you fight like the giant ogres or whatever. But I think this is going to be a lot better than that game. So this is coming, I believe it's coming to PlayStation and PC. I don't remember seeing any other listing here. Oh, it is coming to Xbox as well. So it's coming to Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. The release date is set for 2025, so it is going to be a little bit, little while till we get around to actually playing it. So I'll talk about it more later when more trailers come out. The press release says, fight epic 25-meter-high climbable creatures known as the Arcs, while blending magical abilities with the arsenal of powerful weapons to keep the world from crumbling. Use the environment and extreme weather events to your advantage in battles against a big roster of fantastical creatures. Immerse yourself in the vast and rich lore where you build relationships with a diverse cast of characters. This is coming from Yellow Brick Studios, who are in Quebec. So they've been working on this game for about 4 years. Looks like it just got one more year down the pipeline, but we'll see when it comes out. Looks pretty good though. I think that it looks pretty good. If you want to check it out, there is a trailer on IGN's YouTube channel. You can run a convenience store in the life sim game Inconbini, coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and Steam. It's essentially it's a Japanese themed convenience store. You set the prices, you inspect your stuff, you order new stuff when you need it. You also clean up the restaurant. The convenience store, and take care of customers. It's essentially if you have the dream of running a convenience store, here you go. This will also be launching sometime in 2025, so you got some time before it officially comes out. But once again, it's a narrative-driven life sim kind of game. Low-pressure experience, they are quoted as saying. Emphasis on character interaction and dialogues. You'll be speaking to the shop's clientele and restocking shelves, arranging items, making phone calls, scanning goods throughout checkout, and so on. So if you want to check that out, it'll be coming around next year. And if you want to check out the trailer, it's on Nagai Industries Inc.'s YouTube channel. Inconbini. A game that is inspired by top-down Zelda games called Kudzu is coming around. I believe it's already out. It came out on the 5th of April. So this is heavily inspired by the top-down Game Boy Zelda games. And actually, there is a original Game Boy cartridge that you can actually buy for about $50 on the Mega Cat store, which I believe is the developer of the game or something like that. 8-Bit Legend is handling the physical release for the Game Boy, so you can get on 8-Bit Legit to get the Game Boy version of the game, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, it has like the green and light green and whatever color palette for the game, which is interesting. It's available on Switch and Game Boy. The original Game Boy, pretty crazy. But like I said, it's it's a top-down Zelda-like. You use like a sword to attack enemies. You do puzzles, etc., etc. You meet random NPCs and stuff like that. Seems kind of fun, but not really my thing. So there you go. Crypt of the Necrodancer has a new DLC coming that adds Hatsune Miku to the game. It's a bit of a meme on the podcast here, but Hatsune Miku has kind of been the bane of my existence for quite some time because I've had to talk about her so much. But yeah, essentially it adds some songs from the famous pop sensation. It's actually available now on Steam and PlayStation. It's coming to the Nintendo Switch soon. So it adds Hatsune Miku, who can move in all 8 directions, dance through enemies to hit them, no shovel, dig by dashing through enemies and into walls, charm monsters and shatter walls with your new ability called Sing, land consecutive hits to deal increased amounts of damage. New additions to the soundtrack is Hatsune Miku's 15. There's 15 songs from Hatsune Miku added to the soundtrack, including 2 new tracks made by Danny Baranowski. So the new tracks are Too Real, Wonder Style, Survive, 10,000 Stars, Lucky Orb, Underwater, Highlight, Intergalactic Bound, Hello Builder, Miku Fiesta, Can't Make a Song, Be Furious, Sweaty Glitch, Thousand Little Voices, and My One and Oni. So there you go. The soundtrack is enabled by default while playing as Hatsune Miku, but you can also change the soundtrack in the customized music section of the menu. So there you go. Kind of a interesting DLC. It's also interesting that they're still supporting this game after so long, but hey, more power to them. All right, Endless Ocean Luminous got a ASMR style trailer on the Nintendo of America YouTube channel. It was pretty nice, just kind of showing off some of the environments. The game is officially going to launch on the 2nd of May. So let's see. Here's some new info for the game. There's going to be at least 578 creatures to find. You can share seeds. So if you don't know, each time you enter the game, it's a different ocean, so you can actually share the code with other players so they can explore specific ocean layouts. There's new diver customization along with special online challenges, and you can take selfies with fish if you so desire. So yeah, these Endless Ocean games, they're always a vibe. But like I said before, it's almost like maybe we should have waited until the Switch 2 comes out, because I think a game like this would be perfect for showing off like the next rendition of whatever Nintendo's next console is going to be, like its graphical abilities, because the Switch version, it looks fine, but it's not like wowing me like the other Endless Ocean games. So we'll see. Like I said, it comes out the 2nd of May if you want to check it out. Endless Ocean Luminous. And if you can't wait for Endless Ocean Luminous, What They Don't See, spelled SEA, is available now on the Switch. Essentially, it's an 8-bit rendition of something that you would see from the Endless Ocean Luminous game. Essentially, it's a 2D 8-bit kind of game where you explore the ocean as like an old school diver with one of those big gold helmets on. You can meet various fish creatures who can talk to, apparently. Also, you will, of course, fight or avoid evil fish as well. So if you want to check that out, it's only like $5. What They Don't See, if you want to check that out. Kind of funny, I guess. All right, hot off the tail of the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster, which I was pretty happy with. Night Dive Studios is now remastering the game PO'd. The PO'd Definitive Edition has been announced, which this is a game from the 90s. It's a first-person shooter, of course, from 1995. Essentially, it's one of the more bizarre first-person shooters, I'm pretty sure. So like you like throw machetes at people, you can fly around, there's like a flamethrower Gatling gun or whatever, there's a laser pistol. It looks pretty nutty. It looks like they did it doesn't look like they did as much work on this one as with like the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster, but once again, like I said, a lot of times you kind of want them to keep the the aesthetic and everything of the original game intact. But let's see what they specifically mention here. So they say a plate full of quality of life features enhanced in the gameplay and bug fixes. You can also switch over to the original game at any time. Wet Your Whistle with widescreen support for the HUD and other on-screen graphics. New difficulty mode has been added for hardcore players. 15 appetizing achievements. A dash of localization support with French, English, Italian, German, and Spanish languages. Total freedom. Cruise on foot or fly with your jetpack through 25 wild 3D environments. So we don't know when exactly this is coming out. It says coming soon, so they must have been working on this about the same time as they were working on Dark Forces Remaster. But hey, looks like it's going to be pretty cool. We'll see what happens after. We'll see we'll see how it looks when it comes out. Oh my god. Finally, for new game releases, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is getting a Bush Rescue bundle. And I believe it's already available on Switch right now. So 3 of the games that have been remastered for the Ty series have been put into one. Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 1, 2 Bush Rescue, and 4 Bush Rescue Returns. So it's kind of weird that the third game isn't on this. All 3 games will be on the same cartridge, though. So unlike the last collection that they released, you will not have to have a download code for the second game. There's a deluxe edition, which will be available. It'll include all 3 games, but also a 220-page art book and a 2-CD soundtrack, distributed digitally by Bandcamp in North America, featuring music from all 3 titles. The first 2 games were previously in a Switch bundle. Like I said before, one of them, the sequel, was a download code, but now they're all 3 going to be on one disc. So yeah, it's kind of weird that the third game isn't here. Maybe the third game isn't coming. I don't know if the third game was made by like a different studio or something. I don't even know. I don't know the story behind that. I have to look it up. But there you go. All right, here are 8 games coming to Xbox Game Pass between the 2nd and the 16th of April. Here are some games that are already out: Super Hot Mind Control Delete, Lego 2K Drive, Little Gator Game, which was one of my favorites from 2022, EA Sports PGA Tour through EA Play. And then on April 9th, we'll be able to play Botany Manor and Kona. April 11th, Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. And April 16th, Harold Halibut, if you want to check those out. Also, there are games that have left the Game Pass service. They'll be leaving on April 15th, so you have a little bit of time to check them out if you so desire. They are Amnesia Collection and Amnesia Rebirth, Back for Blood, Phantom Abyss, Research and Destroy, and Soma. There's a couple of games on there that I would recommend trying out, like the Amnesia Collection. Back for Blood was decent. Phantom Abyss is really fun. And Soma, decent horror game as well. A lot of people love it. I was kind of indifferent at times. But yeah, that's it for today, folks. I hope you I hope you enjoyed. If you want to check out the other things I do, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, etc. We stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. We just finished Princess Peach Showtime, so we'll be moving on to a new game. We're going to be switching between 2 games again. We've been doing 1 game for a little while, but we're going to switch back and go between 2 games again in the future here, for Monday and Tuesday at least. And also, I did kind of mess up a little bit this past week with the movie podcast, Film Freaks with a Z at the end. I forgot to edit and upload the latest episode, but the latest episode is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, if you want to check out the conversation about that. All right. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. Also, next week I am on vacation, so I may not have an episode. Or it might be late. Yeah, just FYI, if you've lasted this long in the episode. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or a good weekend. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I will talk at you next time. Bye-bye.
The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.